Hello everyone and welcome to WWE SmackDown. You're on the Tom Colohue channel watching along. WrestleMania is in the rear view mirror and tonight's SmackDown will feature an announcement from Triple H, plenty of Judgment Day, and the return to the main event. For the main event, Uso himself, Jey Uso. We have 2 hours of content coming to you. If you listen to this, if you watch it, whatever works in addition to SmackDown, let us know, because while it could potentially be a good post-WrestleMania SmackDown, Vince McMahon continues to loom in the ether, hovering on the outside of our consciousness, ready to strike at seemingly any time. He's already running from remote location this SmackDown. Triple H has written out the script, sent it over to Vince, and Vince McMahon has made some changes. So, let's see what we're going to get. We have Moxie here already saying, acknowledge me, consider yourself acknowledged, sir. And Mark on the other side saying, looking forward to the show and recording mine at the same time. We already have 8 viewers in the chat. Welcome everyone to the show. We are of course starting with our usual WrestleMania recap, highlighting a plethora of what's been on display. We did see for Monday Night Raw basically an hour of WrestleMania recap, and I'm very much hoping that we don't have to sit through all of that again. One WrestleMania recap show is enough for me, and yet here we are on SmackDown with much the same thing happening. Oh, for us here saying, Mr. Colohue, how is the rest of your week? I'm honestly debating why I stay up for this. Have to be at 8 AM to go to Tottenham. Hopefully, Raw was a misnomer and Vince McMahon will have learned the error of his ways. None of us believe it, but I have to say it regardless, because we are living, we are hoping, and we are just genuinely trying to survive with this one. Hopefully it's a good show, Ofa. Hope you enjoy your show at Tottenham as well. How you doing, mate? Okay, so the recap wasn't too extensive. It was only a couple... Nope. It's just gone into a different phase. I thought it was ending. It's gone into a different phase of recap. I do want to say at the start a massive thank you to everyone who came to today's spoiler warning. We peaked at 165 viewers and that was absolutely amazing for numbers. Plus in the end gaining 34 subscribers in just an hour and a half, which is an utterly tremendous number. More than we got for either night of WrestleMania. So certainly YouTube is starting to do favours for ourselves at the Tom Colohue channel. Massive thank you to everyone who's joining us as well and has really helped the growth of these shows. Sean is here saying hello. Megan as well saying hello. Hello everyone, great to see you. On the YouTube side, Justin Check is saying AFK for a bit, putting 7-year-old to quiet time. Fair enough, Justin. You have fun with that one. And James Kemple says, do you think AEW can sell out Wembley? Yes, but they may have to be clever about it and intentionally reduce the number of tickets that they sell and the number of seats that are available. Wembley could sell out at 90,000 people. It could also sell out at 50,000 people. Take your pick and stick to it, essentially, is what AEW need to do. We are still in the WrestleMania recap. This is ridiculously obsessive. I'll be really glad when it's no longer the whatever after WrestleMania, just so we can get away from doing this. Traffic says, good evening Tom and chat. Here's to a better show than Raw. Surely it can't be as bad. We're gonna hope. Ophir says, I can honestly say Raw after WrestleMania was the wrestling equivalent of dunking a biscuit in tea and it breaking in half. That moment of, oh, this is gonna be Sean said, do you think we open with Triple H? I'm not sure on this one. There's only one way to find out. We're getting the Cody and Roman recap here. So there's only one way to find out. I wouldn't be too surprised by it. SmackDown historically, or at least under Triple H, has always opened with a wrestling match. So if we do open with Triple H, that's a bad sign. This recap is going to take us well into halfway through the opening segment. Megan says, could we get a draft announcement? I hope so. That's what I'm hoping for. I worry this announcement is going to be exactly what we had on Raw and give us absolutely nothing new. I would prefer, much prefer in fact, an announcement of a draft, especially given that I've already got my draft predictions in, expecting it to happen. Ophir says, we opened Raw with Triple H. We did. I worry it is just going to be a repeat. I don't think it was necessarily for the fans that Triple H made that announcement. I think it may have been for the networks, because the networks really watch each other's show, but they certainly watch their own. You'll have executives from Fox watching this show to keep au fait with what the presentation is. James says you would think this main event would be at a PLE. Sami Zayn versus Jey Uso is a build towards a tag team match, likely a repeat tag team match at Backlash for the tag team championships. So I'm not too surprised that we're seeing this particular match involved. Also, hello James, and hello Venom saying hi Tom. How you doing? Officer says, oh boy, it's a match. I think I'll take it. It is a match. It is Imperium versus Brawling Brutes opening the show. That is a win for Triple H right there. Mr. Stumble says, Tom, what killed Elias's push? There's a number of different things that sort of killed the push. He was getting rave reviews, but at WrestleMania, it was supposed to be a segment where you walk with Elias down to WrestleMania, and they just didn't sell any tickets at the club in New Orleans where he was having himself a concert. Essentially, they were trying to get him over as one thing, and instead fans were seeing him as something else. He was never really treated like a wrestler. Moxie says Tom versus Gunter shirtless match, and Moxie, you can go to hell. Like, lovingly, you can go to hell with that one. They are advertising Triple H and our main event of Sami Zayn versus Jey Uso as we head into the show. They're really going to push the Triple H one, I'm sure, but he needs to have something worthwhile to say because there was apparently going to be an announcement on Monday, and instead we got nothing's going to change while Vince McMahon was actively changing things. Brawling Brutes versus Imperium is very much a Triple H match, a very much Triple H setup, and very much a reminder that the Intercontinental Championship picture is in safe hands. Ophir says, I think Elias became obscure after WrestleMania 36. Tell me you were faced at WrestleMania 36, Tom, do it. I'm guessing that was Doctorate of Thugonomics. John Cena. Kieran says, have you seen Gunter already? Has the most 5-star matches of any WWE superstar and has barely been in WWE. Very true. Very true. Basically every huge match he's been in, whether in NXT or in fact in the main roster, has been 5-star, and you know what? I'm down. Denham says, I thought Triple H would open, but I thought that was a battle, but we are where we are. I immediately see a sign saying, where's Bailey in the crowd? Horsey says, hey Tom. Hello Horsey, how you doing, mate? Hogan says, phew, Pete Dunne is still wearing the singlet. He was singlet the entire time he was Butch. He briefly had, no, actually I'm wrong. He did briefly have the shirt and the suspenders, didn't he? Oh, yeah, dark times. Dark times. And Si says, hi all, I got permission and I'm allowed to stay up and watch. Well, if you want to, Si, I mean, no one's going to force you here, and you know this. You know this. James Kemple said the fourth SmackDown was being hijacked. Hijacked in what way? It's being run by Vince McMahon from a remote location. Hijacked is an interesting turn of phrase. Not entirely what I would say personally. Offer says false, it was King Corbin. Corbin versus Elias. Nope, I mean, you got me there. You got me there. Offer says, where's Bailey? On Raw. Yeah, but she wasn't, was she? Megan says, if Edge is a happy Labrador on Raw, does that mean Butch is the hyper Jack Russell on SmackDown? I mean, it makes sense. He's definitely hyper. Venom says, with this advertising, it should be good and not crap. Do you think he could say Roman must vacate one of the titles or defend them separately on Raw and SmackDown? I doubt it, but it would be nice. Possibly. I mean, you never know. They may be saying that, we're splitting the championships and whoever wins between Brock and Cody gets it. It's important to consider the possibilities, but I can't say for certain. Mark says, Gunter would have got a lot of 5 stars when he was in Progress and others. He did. He actually did. Dylan says, how do you think the Sami versus Jey match will end? With a bit of carnage. A bit of carnage. They essentially, if they're going to do a rematch, they need to justify it. So Jey needs to win. Also, the idea here, of course, is that Sami Zayn wants to rescue Jey Uso from Roman Reigns. So Sami can't go in this too aggressive. Adam, you're asking the same question in a different way. I'm not going to sit here and say this person's getting released because nobody knows, and even if I did, it would not be something I want to talk about. You're asking the same thing in reverse. I know your game. Stop trying it. Joey says, I hope this match is given a lot of time. I don't want to see a rushed match. There was definitely a time under Triple H where the first match had a half hour to go. I wouldn't be too surprised if that's what we get here, although admittedly, the WrestleMania recap took the first 5 minutes and we're only really, 2 minutes into this one? I'd still like it. I still think it works. I'd be very happy with the idea. Horsey says people listen to Twitter people too much. That's where the hijack part came from. Oh, the thing where everyone's supposed to be chanting. Yeah, not a thing. Kieran says, don't know how reliable Cultaholic are anymore, but they reported that Damage Control have broken up. So that report came from Wrestling Observer. If you click on the link that they've got, it does go back to a Wrestling Observer newsletter report. Bit of miscommunication there. Gunter having to distract the ref for a long time before we could get into the actual suplex. So yes, I've seen that Cultaholic report. It did of course come from Wrestling Observer. And from what I can say, the plan was for Damage Control to break up. Damage Control were told that they would be breaking up several weeks ago. I reported on this earlier during spoiler warning as well. Sean says 3 more Star Wars films were announced. Daisy Ridley returning in the first one, which will take place 15 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker. I'd imagine then she's going to die horribly. And Ofa says, in other news, I would recommend that you do not try to drink tea after eating ginger nut biscuits and vice versa. Fair enough, mate, fair enough. 456 Casino says, hello Tom, thanks for your hard work. Appreciate that, 456. We've done very well recently. The show earlier got 34 new subscribers. 34, which is utterly ridiculous. The most I've ever had in one day is 50. And depending on how today ends, if we get into a 15 from this show, we're laughing. That's all I'll say on that one. So I'm a happy boy, and I do feel the hard work has been worth it, which is always half the battle. The last 2 spoiler warning shows have averaged 160 and then 160, peaked at 160 for Monday, 165 for Friday when I expected it to calm down again, so good times. Hogan says if folks are really looking for a Cody losing based conspiracy, Roman is 67 days from passing Punk's 434-day WWE title run. I mean, if you're looking for conspiracies, there's your one. There's your one. Traffic says spoiler warning earlier was booming. Congrats, man. Thank you, Traffic. I do like that a lot of the new people who came in didn't just come in and subscribe. They were also chatting away. They were really involved, and that absolutely helped that show to do well. Horsey says I'll be in and out tonight. On duty tonight. By the way, thanks for your response. Meant a lot. No worries, Horsey. No worries at any point. I always very appreciative of anyone reaching out, and I appreciate that you reached out when you had some concerns and we were able to address them. I do feel it's a better chat right now than it was, and I think we're seeing results because of that. If you're watching on YouTube, please do remember to hit like as well. We have 21 viewers right now and 14 likes, so it's a very good number so far. But just do remember, if you can, to hit like as well. It does help the growth of the channel, and we are nothing if not growing right now. So I'm very appreciative of the more than 100 likes we got earlier, and of course all of the viewers that we have for this watch party right now. Thank you all of you for being a part of this, for keeping me company, and for helping me not go insane when Vince McMahon returns. Traffic says nothing would get the IWC going like Roman coming out on day 435 saying he's the best in the world. I think he would. He's not a big fan of CM Punk, is all I'll really say. So he's not a big fan. I could say more, but there's not much more I really need to say. He's not a big fan. You all heard what Seth Rollins said, didn't you? Seth and Roman often agree on things. So the fact that our first match is still going, and it is Imperium versus Brawling Brutes, all very positive signs. Very positive signs that maybe things aren't changing as much as Raw suggested that they would. I don't think Vince McMahon would book this match. Kieran says, so that's all 3 members of the Shield that don't like Punk. You are correct, sir. I actually forgot to mention Jon Moxley there, who really doesn't like CM Punk. The Shield are still very, very much united. Joey says that Raw was brutal to watch. I know, mate. I know you in particular are having a very rough time with it. I appreciate you sticking around with us. Andy says, hello, Tom. Hello, Andy. I don't know if has popped over to YouTube to like the stream. I appreciate that, mate. Thank you. Dylan Burns says, if and when do you think Jey will turn on Roman? I think it's a long-term storyline. I think it won't be anytime soon because Roman's going to take some time away. But I wouldn't be too surprised if it happens before the end of the year. Venom says, even the draft next week. There was There were reports out there that Peter Insider have reported the draft is next week. Peter Insider themselves have stated that they did not report that. Traffic says, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall when The Shield and CM Punk were all backstage at times together. They all dislike him. They do now, to be fair. They do now. It's not necessarily the case that they always have. Peter, how you doing, mate? Says, don't forget to like or we'll get the tables out. Julia says, love the channel. Glad I found it. Thanks for all the info. Been enjoying watching the videos. Thank you, Julia. I take that as quite a compliment that you're enjoying what we do here and that you're enjoying the info. I really do appreciate that. Rich Holland has just been tagged in. Sheamus doesn't seem to be anywhere to be seen. But Marcel Ludwig Kaiser knows how to go flying. He absolutely does. I'm not sure whether this match is going the full half hour, but it's made a very good start so far. Crowd are hot for Rich Holland, which when he was first paired up with Sheamus, I didn't have the highest hopes here, but he's proven me wrong on that one. Hogan says June 12th, 2023 is the day he'd hit 435. It's a Monday. Too bad Raw's in Kansas instead of Chicago that day. And Peter laughing at Gunter slapping Sheamus. What I do like is I've just seen Butch in the corner trying to count along and suggesting that Ridge pin him. Good sell. Alyssa says, do you think Seth Rollins will dethrone Roman Reigns or still Cody Rhodes? Still Cody Rhodes for me. And Dylan asks, what is your favourite WrestleMania match? For me, personally, it is the WrestleMania 12 main event, the Iron Man match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. I just personally really enjoy that match. Moxie says, I would have Jey versus Roman at WrestleMania 40 for the Universal title or for no title. I'd absolutely take no title, I'd tell you that. Alpha says, Tom, do you think Giovanni Vinci, Ludwig Kaiser would cut it as single stars? Maybe if they were given back their previous names. I absolutely do. I absolutely do. They have the talent. They have everything you could possibly need. Gunter now taking the opportunity for a serious beatdown on Rich Holland. That might well be it. No, we have a Butch in play. Joey says the Brawling Brutes have been a really good group. It's helped Butch and Ridge get over, and it really has. These three men, including Butch, including Rich Holland, main evented Survivor Series. That's a pretty good thing to be able to hang your hat on. Sean says apparently Saraya said on Busted Open Radio she regrets taking a shot at WWE in her AEW promo. Said she was told to say it. Didn't want to take the shot because WWE helped her out a lot. She felt it caused a lot of tribalism and negative reaction. I agree with that. I absolutely agree. Sheamus has been tagged in. Sheamus and Gunter are now in the ring together, absolutely going to war. Less than a week after their WrestleMania match in which they absolutely went to war. These two have made magic together, and much like the Usos and the New Day feud way back when, there's no point at which they've even come close to disappointing. Ophir says Ridge is the only person with the last name Holland I actually like. You're not a Jules Holland fan, mate. Peter says I think Ridge is underused and understand why. Joey says Triple H booked them good, unlike Vince who treated them like a joke. To be fair, when it came to the Brawling Brutes, it was very late in the day for Vince, and I don't know if he had really time to book them as anything. Hector says, hey Tom, just now catching up on SmackDown, did I miss anything of significance or no? No, we've opened with the match that you are currently watching, which is suggestive of Triple H still being in charge. Peter says, per Dave Meltzer, Roman Reigns is not booked for WWE Backlash and Money in the Bank. Right, so the reports coming out right now is that Roman Reigns is going to be taking a break after WrestleMania, a prolonged break, which you may have heard reported somewhere, such as, for example, spoiler warning, on the Tom Colohue channel. Moxie says, not going to lie, Tom, who do you see beating Gunter? I would say Solo Sikoa. Solo's a good shout. I think Solo Sikoa versus Gunter would be an incredible match. That's a very good shout. Megan says, this match and the one at Mania proved my theory true. Give some mad Europeans 20 minutes and the permission to beat the crap out of each other and you get gold. You really do. There is only... In fact, no, every single person in this match is European. Oh... A moonsault from the rope for Butch. We are going crazy. Sheamus has got Vinci in the ring. Oh, lovely. Again, I never understand why he does the knee. And not the bro kick. But the fans are seriously behind Sheamus now. He's getting all of the love. Can he get the pin? Has Gunter been effectively taken out? Bro kick. That's got to be it. 1, 2, 3. Sheamus gets a little bit of recovery and gets a bit of his heat back after the loss at WrestleMania, which in many ways did not harm him at all. But that's a great spot for the Brawling Brutes. As a trio, for a couple of months now, they've been really underplayed. Since the Royal Rumble and Sheamus' tag team with Drew McIntyre took precedence, the Brawling Brutes have been kind of forgotten about. I'm very happy that the three of them have been able to work together on this one and get a win. Venom says, when do you think we could see Indy getting called up and DIY? Not sure. So many call-ups have been cancelled. So many. Alyssa, people think Seth Rollins will beat Roman Reigns if they want to. It's wishful thinking. Ophir says, some rivalries get old really quick and you just want WWE to let them die. Imperium versus Brawling Brutes is not one of them. Absolutely not. Okay, we're getting a recap of Monday Night Raw, the closing segment, on SmackDown. I get the feeling this is where Vince is cutting in. I really do. So, as we have been doing over WrestleMania, and as we tried to do on Raw, but it hurt us, how do we rate that match? Can you give me a rating out of 10 of how you think that match went? Was it fantastic and deserved an 8 or a 9? Was it okay and deserved a 5 or a 6? Was it a bit crap and deserved a 3? You let me know. Hector says, I think one thing that goes unnoticed in the Brawling Brutes is that Ridge not only overcame the freak accident with Big E to now be featured consistently on TV and PLEs. I'd imagine that was going to be followed up by something like he surpassed it and used it as fuel. But what I will say is that he received a lot of abuse for that injury to Big E, which was not his fault. It was just something that happened. There's 2 people involved in a throw like that. And unfortunately, neither of them were really in sync with each other. It does happen. Accidents do happen. So I will say, after all the abuse he received, he was able to push on, and he should be very proud of himself. No Wiggly, Triple H has not come out yet. We started with a good old-fashioned wrestling match. Benham says, what do you think the next face and heel turns will be in the men's and women's divisions? I'm not sure. I think Drew McIntyre turning heel would make me very happy. Peter says, I heard Randy Orton may be coming back. Do you have a video about this? You know, I got some abuse earlier from people saying that I was wrong about Randy Orton because I reported he'd be back at WrestleMania. Clearly that person had never watched my video on Randy Orton. Gomar says, Gunter versus Brock would be cool. Brock wants it to happen. I've reported this previously. Brock requested it, but he was turned down on the basis of, we don't want you to be Intercontinental Champion. Peter says, what's up with the WWE production team? In what way, Peter? What do you mean? Stuart says, same with Dragunov and Devlin. They better each other big time when they get in the ring. Welcome, Stuart. Hogan says, that was fun. It was, I agree. Peter O believes Roman Reigns will not lose his titles this year. Ophir says, oh yes, thank you fanatics. I would love to buy some crazy expensive Cody Rhodes boxes. We have some ratings. Mark gives it an 8 out of 10. Peter gives it a 9. Stuart giving it an 8. Dylan says, do you think now that Vince is back in charge, he'll take the title off Gunter? No. Ophir says, that match a 6.5. Moxie suggests Solo versus Gunter would steal the entire year. Not gonna lie, Solo would be perfect to beat Gunter. I absolutely agree. Megan says 7.5 for me, only because we didn't see all of it because of adverts. Sean says, who do you think dethrones Austin Theory? Someone who has not stepped into the division yet. I'd like it to be someone like Mustafa Ali. However, I can't guarantee that's going to happen. Moxie gives it an 8.3. Sai gives it a solid 7.5. Can you have solid fractions? I can't think you can have solid fractions, but you certainly can have fractions. Julie gives it 8. It was a good one. And Peter says, Cody Rhodes lost all his momentum after WrestleMania 39. I wouldn't say that. I think there was still a lot of crowd heat behind him when he stepped into the ring on Raw. James Kemple says, apparently there's mutual interest between WWE and... I don't know who any of that is. Alyssa says, do you think they hold off on Cody Rhodes to dethrone Roman Reigns? Don't you see The Rock? No, The Rock is not booked for a WrestleMania match against Roman Reigns. Andy Barr gives the match an 8. Peter Englefield saying, Si, you are solid. Fractions or otherwise. Hector says, I'm not Fox, but I could imagine they're not too happy that WWE wants to push the other network's show on the show they paid the bank for. Just a thought. They care a lot less than USA Network do. But what I will say is this is very much... This feels like Vince. Moxie wants Big E to dethrone Theory. You might be waiting a while because Big E's not ready yet. And Venom says, thing is, people get something in their heads and don't shut up about it until it doesn't happen. Yep, and when it doesn't happen, they get real angry. real angry that the thing they imagined was going to happen has not happened. Joey says that was definitely a Triple H match. If Vince booked that, Gunter would have taken the pinfall. I wouldn't go that far, mate. I wouldn't go that far, but it was definitely a Triple H match. Ofa says to dethrone Theory, I'd ask for someone like Xavier Woods or even LA Knight. Xavier Woods versus Austin Theory really works for me. Callie says hi again, Tom. Hi again, Callie. Peter Roberts says no one can beat Roman Reigns now, except that's not going to happen. Someone is going to beat him. I get it, Peter Englefield. Don't worry. Do you want me to give you the full name? Vijay says they're both in charge. Not quite true. Vince McMahon is in charge. It's entirely up to him whether or not he gets involved with what Triple H is booking. More often than not, he probably won't, or he hopefully won't. But at the moment, he still has the power and the choice to do so. If at any point he decides, I'm not happy with this, I want to make changes, done. He gets his wish. Traffic saying another package. Seeing a lot of packages tonight. More packages than I would expect. And Vijay says, I wish everyone would just stop talking about Vince. Can't do that. Can't do that because ultimately Vince makes sure that we're all still thinking about him. All he had to do is nothing. And he couldn't even do that. Couldn't even do that. Ofa says, WWE recapping WrestleMania as if we didn't spend an entire weekend watching the damn thing. I know, right? Like it's going out of style. Vegeta believes Cody lost no momentum. Ofa suggests only one person can beat Roman now. Steve Blackman. It's been a while. I still reckon he could do it. Hector says, Cody beating Brock is going to be a bigger moment than people probably realise. Because Brock also took Roman to the brink of losing many times. Also, to be fair, recently, Brock's stock is depleted. So the heel turn, in the end, kind of necessary, I feel, to sort of rebuild and replace him a little bit. So he can reclaim. The Teflon Don says, good evening, Tom. Welcome, Teflon Don. How you doing, mate? Welcome to the show. If you are just joining us, please do remember, because we have 40 people watching right now and 27 likes so far. If you're able to, please pop a like on the channel and subscribe if you haven't already. We are growing at a tremendous pace so far this month. In the first 7 days of this month, we have gained 104 new subscribers. 104. If we keep that up, we gain 300 plus subscribers this month, which is a truly ridiculous number. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to keep this up. We got a bit of a bounce from WrestleMania, for example. But, what if we do? What if we do? We have to consider the possibility. What if we do? Moxie wants to have Johnny Knoxville beat Roman. Interesting. And have Snoop Dogg beat Theory. Hector says, wouldn't it be interesting if Paul Heyman paid Brock behind Roman's back to take out Cody once and for all? That's not a bad shout. I'd like that. That was a long-ass recap. A long-ass recap that told us absolutely nothing. Right, so Wade Barrett saying that Brock Lesnar wasn't happy he went on first. That's dumb. Ofa says, have Wade Barrett come back for an open challenge at some point. Please, please, God. To my knowledge, he is not fighting fit to wrestle and is not really intending to become fighting fit to wrestle. Caleb Braxton is introducing, and he's not happy about it, Paul Heyman to talk about what happened with Cody Rhodes. Solo Sikoa also in attendance. Paul Heyman saying don't boo his name, which means they will boo his name. Sai says, Tom, that is some going of your subs. You're doing so well on views, likes and donations. Thank you, Sai. I appreciate that. I am very, very happy with what we've been able to achieve. A large part of it is the amount of us working together on this one. I feel we have a really positive feel and a positive vibe in the chat at the moment. I feel we have the same with the Discord and the like. I feel things are in a real positive. And we got a lot of new eyes on the product and what we create here at WrestleMania. The last two spoiler warnings, of course, also have had a tremendous amount of news. And we've been getting a lot of support on social media like Twitter as well. A lot of people sharing, liking, retweeting. Every little does help, and every little is a massive help in the growth of the channel. Plus, of course, the chat rate has been bigger than it ever has before. And that has been very beneficial to the growth of the channel. Venom says, do you think we see a heel turn tonight? I do not. I'm not sure who would turn heel. Not sure on that one. Dylan says, do you think the main event of Backlash is Cody versus Brock? I do. Personally, I do. Julia boos Paul Heyman. Jey Uso talking to Paul Heyman solo. Apparently Jimmy Uso is not in attendance, leaving Jey Uso alone against Sami. This means that Roman Reigns is blaming Jey Uso for the Tag Team Championship loss. Peter Roberts says, Solo Sikoa will be a WWE champion in the future. He is the next big thing. He's being booked extremely well, I have to say. Peter says, I had a TikTok video get 100,000 views. Is that good? Yeah. Yeah. One of mine is just under 10,000 at the moment, which is pretty good, especially when you consider that I have less than 200 followers. Followers don't mean much on TikTok, but I tell you what, views absolutely do. And Vegeta says, has Lashley secretly found the Fountain of Youth? I don't think it's a secret, mate. The guy still looks amazing. Paul Heyman adding a bit of tension. Either Jey Uso solves the Sami Zayn problem or Solo solves the problems. Next up, we have Braun Strowman and Ricochet. I believe they're going up against the Viking Raiders. So we've had a 6-man tag. We're going to have a tag team match now. We're going to have a women's tag team match later. We don't get a lot of singles matches under Triple H, do we? We really don't. Hector says, Tom, remind me, how is Vince and Paul Heyman's relationship? I can't recall if they're on good terms or not. They're on great terms. Vince McMahon trusts Paul Heyman, which is more than he can say for most. Paul Heyman is someone that Vince McMahon would genuinely leave the company in the hands of if he could. Sean says, Usos have the longest SmackDown tag team title reign, but not the longest Raw tag title reign. That still belongs to the New Day. Stuart says, gotta say, like that Solo shirt. They're getting good merch, Bloodline. Like top to bottom, they're getting very good merch. Oh, we are not getting a tag match. It will not be and Braun Strowman or and Eric. It will be Ricochet versus Ivar. No sign of Braun Strowman. No sign of Braun Strowman. Interestingly. It was 100,000, Peter. You did say 100,000. I got nearly 10,000. I talked about one that I did as well. Peter Engelfield says, Heyman is a master of promos. I think. I agree. And Peter Roberts says, do you think Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso SummerSlam will happen? I don't know. Moxley saying that was a tease. Roman certainly seems to be blaming Jey Uso for the loss. Vegeta says it's a secret because he doesn't share. Fair. Fair. And Venom says, do you think Heyman was hinting to Solo if Jey doesn't win, attack him? He was certainly teasing something. I can't sit here and say for sure what it might be. We have another commercial break. Our first quarter of SmackDown is down. And honestly, so far so good. Still feels like a Triple H show. Still enjoying it. The only downside so far for me is the amount of time we've spent on a WrestleMania recap and on a Raw recap. It just all feels very excessive. Very excessive. As Stuart says, could be a decent match. This Ivar is a pretty agile, big guy. Of course, this is the main reason, as I reported earlier during spoiler warning. No, Venom, Triple H isn't next. There's a tag match on next. As I reported during spoiler warning, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos look set to continue while the tag division continues to rebuild. This, of course, is a continuation of that rebuild. Moxley says the way Solo was looking at Jey was very telling, and also says this is the start of the end of the Bloodline. WrestleMania was the start of the end of the Bloodline. Technically, the Royal Rumble was, when Sami Zayn made clear his intentions to side with Kevin Owens over Roman Reigns. Roman losing control is the story here, but Solo sticking with him. Solo sticking with him. Eventually, Solo will be the Batista of the Bloodline. John says, would Endeavour want a draft? Endeavour wants whatever whatever Vince McMahon tells them that they want. Endeavour, by and large, doesn't really care as long as it's making money. They're not going to watch the programme. They're not going to care. As far as they're concerned, Vince will make the decisions. Vince's first decision would be to maintain Triple H in place, and that's how it's supposed to work. We'll see how that goes going forward, shall we? I did want to ask, I asked earlier today and I got some responses. I'd like to ask a little bit more. At the moment on the YouTube, my plan essentially is to work on all possible trees. So YouTube has a lot of different areas which are working in sync quite well at the moment. So you'll see, for example, I started the quizzes, which I've now done, I think, 3 of them. And hopefully I'll be doing more of them as I settle back into my routine. I needed a lot of sleep after WrestleMania, so I didn't have time to research. So I hope people are enjoying the quizzes. If you're enjoying those, let me know. And then when I uploaded my most recent video on Wednesday, I broke it into 2 shorts as well. Those shorts then went onto TikTok, as I did with my video a couple of days beforehand, the Monday one, which I broke down and then put onto TikTok as well. Those videos, those clips are doing really well, both on shorts and on TikTok. So with the live, with the video, with the shorts, and with the quiz posts, I'm trying to cover a lot of bases. My hope is that you're not sick of seeing my name on your screen. If you are, please let me know, and I'll see what I can do to maybe try and fit your needs a bit better, you know? So let me know on that one. More WrestleMania recap, yay. Joey says, I'm guessing this is a change Vince made. It was listed as a tag match originally. It was, so this is definitely a change that's been made. I don't know if we can say 100% why the change was made, whether it was Vince, but that seems to be where we're headed. Moxie says, Tom, what do you mean by Solo being the Batista of the Bloodline? Sorry to ask. By the Batista of the Bloodline, I mean the most successful person coming out of the Bloodline. Roman is obviously the most successful person coming into the Bloodline, but on the way out, the person with the rocket strapped to them will be Solo Sikoa. It's very interesting seeing Ivar with Valhalla and not Eric. I don't understand why Strowman and Eric are not ringside for this. It seems very out of character. Hogan says I could see Roman versus Jey on the road to Roman versus Cody 2. Where it is probably depends on how long they plan on dragging this out. Vegeta is still really hoping for the AOP. Me too, mate. I know the contact was there. I've been waiting a long time for an update and I haven't had one. Dylan says, Tom, I'm hoping to go to WrestleMania next year, God willing. God willing indeed. I hope for the best for you, Dylan. Hope you can make it happen. And Peter Roberts seems to think Brock Lesnar is going to beat Cody Rhodes at King and Queen of the Ring, like 2 separate shows. Brock Lesnar versus Cody, Queen of the Ring, would be a hell of a match. Traffic says that Batista moment where he gave Triple H the thumbs up, thumbs down, powerbomb through a table, signs the contract for WrestleMania. Loved it. One of my favourite moments ever. Imagine a moment like that for Solo Sikoa. You can see it, can't you? Venom says, who do you think the next face turn will be? I don't know. I really don't. I don't think anyone has enough momentum to really get behind them in that manner. Maybe Gunter, the fans will force it. Hector says, last weekend I watched the new M. Night Shyamalan starring Dave Bautista. So impressive how far he's come as an actor, and he may be one of my favourite former WWE stars turned actors. Yeah, when you consider that promos and the like were never his strength, literally never his strength, he probably lives with anxiety. Some serious anxiety, and he's pushed through that very well. Adam says, did Vince McMahon have big plans for Ciampa and was he hiring him? He didn't really have any plans for Ciampa. Ciampa had just come through, but he was a fan and wanted to use him a lot sooner than he actually got him to use. So I says, I'm going to be mischievous here. Triple H has a free pass to make whatever mistakes he likes at the moment because people will just blame Vince. That's fair, and I think he's probably going to take advantage of it. My expectation, by the way, is that Triple H is going to be our draw segment tonight. Vegeta says he made him a lackey of The Miz. What does that say? Well, Triple H made Bronson Reed a lackey of The Miz. What's the issue? Peter Robert says Vince is backstage. It's been reported by a number of outlets that I trust more than yourself, Peter Robert, that Vince McMahon is not backstage. Have you got a source on that information so I know that you're not making it up? Venom says anything about Samoa Joe will return. I see that being very, very much less likely now than it was. Stuart says they've been banned. Who's they? Who's been banned, Stuart? Justin check his back saying SmackDown good. So far so good. The first match was great fun, Imperium versus Brawling Brutes. We're now up to Ricochet versus Ivar, which is uninspired, but not necessarily a bad thing. I was expecting a tag match. That was what was announced, but we are where we are. The crowd are into it. After all, Ricochet, who was always a favourite of Vince. Alyssa, I'm not going to give you spoilers for that. I personally believe, my prediction is that Cody Rhodes will beat Brock Lesnar. And Noah Edit says, I wish it was Brock versus Cody versus Roman. Could be fun. That would be a fun concept. But ultimately, Roman still needs his time off. As previously reported right here on the Tom Colohue channel. Joey says, the explanation for Brock attacking Cody because he was livid. His match with Omos opened night 2. Yeah, that's all manner of ridiculous. All manner of ridiculous. No, Peter, I do not watch AEW Dynamite every week. I watch AEW Dynamite when I can. The crowd are really into this match. It's actually a really good opportunity for Ricochet and Ivar individually to get a bit more over. Ivar's keeping up with the man, which is very impressive. It's rare that you keep up with Ricochet. But Ivar's doing a very good job. No, I wouldn't necessarily call it a dream match, no. Not every match can be a dream match. Venom says, I never thought Joe and Drew would work as faces, but maybe Volta could do a face. He's never done it. He doesn't really care whether fans cheer or boo him. He just wants to wrestle. He's literally, I asked him in an interview and he said, I don't care. It's quite fun. Peter Engelfield says, do you think Triple H will announce your signing, or is it still hush hush? Whoa, 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 mate. Shh. Whoa, 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 whoa. Gotcha, Stuart, thank you. Unfortunately, I don't hear as much of the commentary because I'm talking over it, essentially. So I appreciate that heads up. Hector says, Valhalla is presented so well, looks good with the makeup and headgear, but the Viking Raiders aren't really treated as a big deal, so it kind of doesn't matter by default. Yeah. That. Yeah. Vegeta, if Bronson wasn't a lackey, then Ciampa wasn't. It's that simple. Ricochet has picked up the win clean over Ivar. Good match overall. I was very happy with that. Nice little bit of flip. Venom says, if Roman was going to have time off, why not drop the title then? Because that's not the story they're telling. Adam says, I'm not saying you said this 100%, but did you say this when you were reporting the WrestleMania matches booked by Vince? Was he happy to have Bray Wyatt back? I didn't make a comment as regards Vince McMahon being happy or sad to have Bray Wyatt back. What I have said is that Vince McMahon has always been Bray Wyatt's biggest supporter. Historically, that's always been the case. Vince McMahon is one of the biggest fans of Bray Wyatt you will ever find, and in many ways did everything he possibly could to keep Bray Wyatt off the cost-benefit analysis release list. He did everything he could. We've gone backstage to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, who are in many ways still celebrating being tag champions. Sean says, Triple H announcement will be that WWE hired Tom Colohue for creative. Well then, you're all in good hands. All in very good hands. Noah says, could Brock fight against Bobby Lashley again? Yeah, if they want to. Buck says, there was barely any wrestling on Raw. Now on SmackDown there's plenty. I wonder if McMahon will do Raw and Triple H will do SmackDown. I don't think so. I think Vince might have heard us. I think Vince might have heard the fans and decided to leave it to Triple H on this one. They're certainly not booking this one on the fly. Noah says, could Brock and Roman be a tag team if they want? And Hector says, every time I hear Ricochet's theme, I shed a tear because his NXT theme was top tier. Dun, 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 dun. It's good stuff. Sami Zayn wants to talk to Jey Uso, and you know what? I kind of get it. As I said earlier, all of this is about Sami Zayn trying to rescue Jey Uso from Roman. The story does not end until Jey Uso is out of that relationship. It's a rescue job now. It's not over. The story is of an abusive relationship between Roman and Jey. Jey can't see how bad it's got, except he can. He knows, but he's not willing yet to walk away. When he does, that will be the moment. That's where the bloodline implodes. Kevin Owens is trying to talk Sami Zayn out of the conversation. See how that goes. Adam says, was Vince ever going to bring him back? Not to my knowledge, no. Because Bray Wyatt at that time wasn't interested in coming back. There's more to it than just what's there. They are more than meets the eye. Raquel Rodriguez is on the way down. She and Liv Morgan will be taking on Natalya and Shotzi. Plenty of wrestling on this one. James says, I don't even get why they constantly change everything on the fly. It doesn't make sense. To be fair, Vince does that. Triple H likes to make his plan at least a week beforehand and just leave it. And he says Vince and Triple H working together could be magic. Could be. Noah says, when do you think Jey will betray Roman? I'm not going to sit here and give a date. I know that's the story. I'm not going to sit here and say this happens here, this happens here, this happens here, this happens here. Because then the story's going to be shit. Juan Orozco says, hey Tom, Peter Insider says that Vince only made minor changes to SmackDown remotely. Yep, this is consistent with what I reported earlier. That Triple H finished the script, sent it to Vince. Vince made about 20 minutes worth of changes to the show. So far, looking at it, we've had the match between the Viking Raiders and Ricochet and Braun Strowman reduced to a singles match. That's not necessarily Vince, but that is a change. We also saw this is again my opinion, the addition of the section, the recap with Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. I do feel again that was a change as well. They are relatively minor changes, and honestly they haven't really impacted the show. I thought Ivar versus Ricochet was good. In fact, I forgot to ask. Sorry guys. Can we rate Ivar versus Ricochet? Because I rated it quite highly. I would have given it a 7 out of 10. What do we think? How would you rate Ivar versus Ricochet? I apologise for waiting a bit too long to ask the question. But what did you make of Ivar versus Ricochet? Can you rate it from a 1 to a 10? What do people think? Vegeta says, if Vince listened to Triple H, it would be great if they worked together. Mark says, give that last match a 7 out of 10. Dylan says, why do people hate the fact that Roman cheats to win? Isn't that what heels are supposed to do? I don't think people care that much. I think they just want it to move on now. Sai gives the match a 7 as well. Venom says, if Roman started beating down Jey, would Solo stop him? No. Stuart gives it a 7 as well. Noah says, I hope at WrestleMania 40 is Rock versus the Roman. The Rock is not booked for any wrestling match with Roman Reigns at any WrestleMania. Andy Barr gives it a 7, Leon a 7 as well. I think we're very consistent there, giving the match a 7 out of 10, which for a bit of a throwaway SmackDown match is a pretty good sign. Vegeta says, Gunter doesn't really cheat, he's a dominant heel. Yes, he is. Traffic gives it a slightly lower 5. And Justin says, Raquel, I'm your sworn enemy for stealing Tegan's partner. Adam says, is Bray Wyatt off TV due to an illness or creative issues? Both. He's off due to some creative issues, but that's not the reason he's off. He's currently rewriting his storyline because Vince McMahon essentially drove a bulldozer through it and had to rewrite the entire thing. He's now trying to rewrite the storyline while also suffering with a few fitness issues, or at least the WWE believe that there are fitness issues. Reported all of this before, Adam. All of it before, so keep track, okay? Vegeta says, JBL had the cabinet, Roman has the bloodline. Roman has went twice as long. Bloodline is better than the cabinet. What can I say? Who wants a cabinet when you can have a whole bloodline? A whole bloodline. And Moxie gives the match a 7.8 out of 10 as well. So overall, some pretty good ratings, I will say. I think it does average at about a 7 when you factor in the 7.8 and the 5. Comes in just below a 7. Just below a 7. Venom says, why are they dragging out this damn announcement? I don't know. I expected them to really push it. But not so much. I wonder if it's being rewritten. Moxie says, didn't Roman beat Braun Strowman clean? Made Braun pass out in 2020 before Hell in a Cell? Probably. It was a while back though. And Braun Strowman has as many wins over Roman. Remember, he won the ambulance match. And did really well in the fatal 4-way that followed. That's a good phrase. The fatal 4-way that followed. Venom says, who is Raquel facing? Raquel and Liv Morgan are facing Natalya and Shotzi as they continue to rebuild the women's tag team division. John says, Tom, did you ever look into why Saray left WWE? Was it creative differences? I did. I reported that one as well. It was a number of different things. Essentially, one of the biggest problems was the language barrier. And after a while, they just ran out of ideas for her. Usually when they run out of ideas for someone, they will ask that person to come up with some ideas for themselves. But the language barrier made that very difficult. Vijit says, did people complain about JBL on the old message boards? I'd imagine so. Do you remember message boards? Do you remember them? Do you remember before the advent of Twitter? When you could just shout your opinions out into the world. Natalya and Shotzi have a brief backstage segment. Well, a recorded promo. Where they're trying to give themselves a story as to why this match is happening. And they're giving themselves a team name. A team name built around balls. Because we don't get enough of them. Hector says, I wonder if there were any language in Bray's new contract where he has to be in a certain shape. If there's any concerns with his fitness, he'll be away till they're addressed. I doubt that. But that doesn't make it impossible. They are advertising on Raw, Lita and Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. This match, of course, is still to build momentum for that. Noah says, is it possible that Roman's titles will be split on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown? Yes, if they wanted to. Everything is on the table. And Dylan says, so far SmackDown is good. No Vince. There hasn't been no Vince. And as Vegeta points out, Vince doesn't automatically equal bad. I mean, there's every possibility that this match that we're seeing right now is a change that Vince McMahon made, given that this match we're seeing Liv Morgan and Raquel winning the match against Damage Control was a choice by Vince McMahon. If you're a fan of Liv Morgan, Vince McMahon's doing good things for her. Kieran, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Bray Wyatt is going to be released. You need to move on, and you need to move on now. Joey says Shotzi got her tank back, and Venom is saying no Tegan, no Tegan. Sai says, please tell me they didn't just christen these two the ballsy baddies. I tell you, if it's got balls in the name, everyone's interested in WWE all of a sudden. Mark says all of the comments on Twitter to each of the WWE posts is #FireVince in all of them. And yet here we are, with Vince in charge. Vince is in charge of this. He's read the script and he's decided that this is what we're getting. I'm pretty happy with it so far. Traffic saying message boards and a messenger, which for anyone who doesn't know is AOL Instant Messenger. Peter Roberts says Chris Jericho says WWE product is really bad about their top champion. What a shock. What a shock. Someone in a different company said that the other company aren't doing things great. Stunned I tell you. Venom wants a heel turn tonight. From who? Who do you want? And Stuart says, is Shotzi supposed to be heel again now? Promo sounded somewhat heelish. It did sound somewhat heelish, but to my knowledge, they are faces. Noah says, is it possible that Rhea Ripley will lose the SmackDown Women's Championship later in the future to Ronda Rousey? Well, later in the future is essentially the rest of her life, so possibly yes. Venom says, do you think Ronda and Shayna take the titles from Becky and Lita? Yes, I do. But of course, they are still both carrying injuries, so we'll see how that plays out long term. Sai is old enough to remember ICQ Messenger. It's a new one on me, mate. It's a new one on me. Thank you very much for subscribing on the YouTube side. I'm going to go with CC. I'm going to go with CC for that name. Welcome to the show. You'll get notifications every time we go live, either for SmackDown watch parties like this one, pay-per-view watch parties, or indeed our our spoiler warning Monday and Friday show as well. Liv Morgan has pinned Shotzi Blackheart. The whole point here is to gain some momentum because I suspect these two will be bouncing off Becky Lynch and Lita. But it gives Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez a bit more momentum going forwards, which makes me pretty happy overall. Hector says Chris Jericho also played a show during the pandemic whilst being unvaccinated, so I don't really take anything he has to say seriously. And Sean says, I wish they would quit putting a title on Ronda. She doesn't need them. Okay, then what would you have her do? Like, genuine question, Sean. What would you personally go for? Riddick Moss is backstage playing 2K with Xavier Woods and Emma. Mox said, did you see WWE teasing Rhea and versus Raquel on Raw? Briefly, yeah. LA Knight's on TV. He's annoyed because he wasn't there at WrestleMania. How do we rate the last match, guys? How do we rate the last match? It certainly wasn't very long, I gotta be honest. While the wrestlers performed ably, I can only give it a 4. Looks like we're building to an LA Knight versus Xavier Woods match. Peter says I'm old enough to remember red telephone boxes. CC says, do you think Vince received a punishment by his, I think that's decisions? Essentially, he's fallen upwards and got a better job out of his retirement, which wasn't a retirement, so no. Noah says, is it impossible that Randy Orton will come back? I hope it's a SummerSlam. For anyone new here, I've already uploaded a video in great detail about Randy Orton's return schedule. It was uploaded at the beginning of February, so I suggest that you check it out because it will answer all of your questions as regards Randy Orton. Mark gives the match a 6 out of 10, makes him look good, but nothing special, and is also excited to see LA Knight. Joey, myself and the mods have this. Size right here. I wouldn't worry, mate. Let me control the chat. Now, AJ, I can see you shouting the same thing twice. What I will say, as I've said, there is a video on this channel about Randy Orton which will answer every question that you have. It was uploaded at the beginning of February. Pop over and watch it. And if you do like it, stick around and subscribe because you'll get more in future. But be aware that I've reported more on Randy Orton than anyone else. And so far, every word of it has been proven right. Peter Roberts says, Tony Khan announced on AEW Dynamite this week that All In will be held in Wembley Stadium. Yes, he did. And Joey says, women's wrestling has been rough on SmackDown. Hopefully, whatever happens with Rhea Ripley later in the night balances that out. Because for our draw segment, as I expected, Triple H is on his way down to make an announcement. Peter says, was there a match? Sorry, I missed it. 2 out of 10. And Andy Barr says 6.5. Good momentum builder. And AJ Smith is going quiet. You had a chance, mate. You had a chance. Justin says, up, up, down, down, canon confirmed. We did have up, up, down, down, in fact, both times on night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania. Briefly, but it was there. And Leon says, free might be a bit harsh. Traffic then comes in and says, free. Noah says, is it possible that John Cena will become the undisputed WWE Universal Champion in the future? It's possible. Everything is on the table. But I reported in 2018, John Cena has no interest in being a world champion ever again. He does not want to break Ric Flair's record, and the WWE are more than happy to allow him to not do so. Peter says, Tom, is that good? Randy calls him to find out what's going on. That's not quite what happens, but okay. Moxley gave the match a 5. And Sean about Ronda says, I'd have her give back. Much in the same way Brock's doing right now. Hector says, LA Knight is so over. As soon as he was shown on screen, you could hear the crowd cheer. Megan is infuriated by that segment and also very, very happy about that segment. Saying, no, 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 no. You do not touch a gamer's controller. Bad LA Knight. I mean, because it's you, that feels like a weird thing to say, Megan. Just because it's you. Also says, question for you. So we get a draft, but the NXT call-ups are swaps. So which 3 people or teams would you call up from NXT and who would go to NXT in their place? I'd call up Pretty Deadly, Zoe Stark and Grayson Waller in exchange for Los Lotharios, Xia Li and Mustafa Ali. It very much feels like a demotion, so I don't think they would ever do that. But I think in general, the people you've actually shown are good calls. Los Lotharios are very talented. I think they could add a lot, and I'd probably swap them out for Hit Row. Otherwise, I think Ali could really run NXT. Moxie's offended to see the PS5 controller thrown. Sean says, since you're the Triple H fan, Tom, do you know if Stone Cold or Rock has beaten him in his career? Yes. Triple H has been beaten by both Steve Austin and The Rock during his career. James says, I just don't get why Liv is constantly screaming. So Liv is a product of the NXT system. In the NXT system, if the crowd aren't really hot for you, you make some noise, you get some energy that way. Because in Full Sail, or wherever NXT is right now, if you scream, the crowd will immediately realise their role. Now, once you get into the main roster, that doesn't really work. Which is why we haven't seen Becky Lynch do straight fire recently. The point of straight fire was the exact same thing. To get the crowd going, she did a scream, a spin, and then ultimately a running punch. That was straight fire. Carmella did it as well, but she went like this a lot. That's just what they're taught in NXT, or it was. So I said the prediction for Triple H's announcement, they're running Wembley stadiums on consecutive nights in August. Hogan says, I dug those simulated 2K results they did for Rollins, Paul, and the IC triple threat. I wouldn't be opposed to adding those in the future. They tend to do them on Up, Up, Down, Down, so by all means check it out. Noah says, is it possible Cowboy Brock Lesnar is actually gone? It's possible, I guess. I mean, it's not, but... Vegeta pointing out KO and Sami versus Usos got 5 stars along with the IC title match, which it did. And Mark says, how much will he copy what he said on Monday? Let's find out, because the crowd are definitely behind him. Stuart would love to see Ali versus Carmelo Hayes. Steve Englund says, hey Tom, catching up on SmackDown now. Anything I should go back and rewind for a second look? I think the opening match was the best, but Ivar versus Ricochet was genuinely quite good as well. Dylan says, when does the draft happen? It has not been announced as of yet. At the minute, he's just warming the crowd up. Megan says, LA Knight should be punished for breaking that controller. I draw the line at breaking gamer stuff. I don't care how pretty you are. You do not do that to us, ever. Ofa says, just found out the words on Triple H's Titantron translate to all hope is dead. You're goddamn right. Okay, he's talking about WrestleMania again. Hector says, didn't they have Triple H's name under his name on Raw and not just Hall of Famer? Triple H's title under his name on Raw, not just Hall of Famer. Yes, they specifically said Chief Content Officer. Tells you everything about what they're actually doing. Is this one about Cody then? He's talking WrestleMania. What have you got for us, Trips? What have you got for us? 23 Fresh says, will the WWE ever bring back Evolve? Very unlikely. It wasn't really worth it for them. Especially given that they're not really doing network content anymore. Noah says, is it possible that Brock Lesnar could be part of the story of the bloodline crumbling down? He is, because he's wrestling with Cody. And Vegeta says, I'm surprised Dave was so generous. Because of the spamming, AJ. Because of the spamming. Now, if you want to keep going, you'll go bye-bye entirely. We have no issue with it. You don't run the channel here. If you're going to be a troll, I'm not going to waste my time with you. Okay, Triple H is now talking about digital views. This feels like complete time filling. Wheel spinning. Kind of pointless. Unease amongst the crowd. Triple H is talking about the future. What's happening here? What's happening here? What's happening, Triple H? Monday felt like a goodbye. I think he's teasing us. Few short weeks. Okay. The draft is announced. I tell you, it's a good thing I've got my draft predictions up, isn't it? Appreciate that, Ross. Appreciate you. Over just shouting draft announcement. Every superstar is eligible, okay. Now I was expecting this announcement on Monday. Lovely sigh. I was expecting this announcement on Monday, and in fact talked about it on Spoiler Warning on Monday. Okay, who's changing the game, Trips? He is introducing Rhea Ripley to the stage. Noah says, I heard also that Brock Lesnar can no longer Okay. Noah, that's not the case, because otherwise he wouldn't have been involved in the potential tag match from Monday, would he? Mark says, will you be doing a spoiler warning for the draft? Yes, I will. Finn Balor is also in attendance, though of course resting and recuperating as well. The entirety of Judgment Day are making their appearance. Now, I did say Judgment Day would be moving to SmackDown as a whole entity, and here they are doing exactly that. The year of Judgment Day begins. Sai says, I think this is a concerted effort to have Triple H be the public face of the company. Can't hurt. It really can't. Yes, Venom is Rhea Ripley. It's Rhea Ripley. Okay, go ahead and unsubscribe. You are pointless here. Bye, AJ Smith. I'd say we'll miss you, but within about 20 minutes, I'll have no recollection of you ever existing. Peter Englefield says, how hardcore is Finn getting staples on his cut, then carrying on? He's an amazing man. Triple H. Traffic says, nice little extra pat on the back from Triple H to Finn there. He deserves it. Ofer says, Rhea Ripley an absolute banger theme song. A good pop for Judgment Day as well. They were expecting a lot more cheers for Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, but it did work out. Sean says, even if that superstar is gone for injury or not, they're due to creative hiatus. Yeah, everyone is eligible. Hector says, the promo was 100 times better than the Raw promo. So big that Triple H really put over Rhea. She deserves all the success. Yes, Sean. All of Judgment Day have microphones. The year of Judgment Day begins today. It's a good question, Peter. I have no idea. Who was that guy? Horsey says, a bit like WWE mid-90s, Tom. True, true. Yes, Venom. Every WWE superstar is eligible. That's what he said. Dylan says, I feel stupid for asking that question when the draft was announced a minute later. Yeah, as again, I expected it on Monday. We knew it was coming. My draft prediction video is already live. There's a reason my draft prediction video is already live. I knew it was coming. Right now, a whole load of people are going to be searching for draft prediction videos, and guess who's got one? Hi. Sai saying, just so we're all clear and the rest of us are, please don't spam the chat or antagonise anyone, or it's a naughty step. Double down is bye-bye. Thanks for respecting that, everyone. We do have mods here. We do have Ed. We do have Lauren. We do have Megan, who is on both sides a mod, but isn't really... it's more of a ceremonial position because Megan, isn't it? And we have Sai. They are rarely required to step in because I will usually just handle things myself, much like we just did. But if you're a pain in the arse, you're not worth having here. The general rules for the community are real simple. It's called a good faith agreement. If you ask a question in good faith, I will answer it in good faith. If you're being a dick, you're not going to be here very long, and we're not going to miss you. Finn Balor shouting down Edge, and kind of fair. Teflon Don thinks the Street Profits will split at the draft. Noah says, is the draft where people go from SmackDown to Raw? I've heard of a draft. Is that how it goes? Yeah, pretty much. Peter says, so that means Tom, Sai and me need to make sure our phones are charged for the draft just in case. I mean, you're not wrong. Venom says, why don't people brag about being Grand Slam champs when they do it? KO didn't and Rhea probably won't. True, Ross. He didn't give an actual date, but it's coming. I did, Will. How you doing, mate? How you doing? Wow. Wow. That right there is a superstar. Dominik will get a chance to talk. Wow. This is amazing. Ofer says the TV shuts off as soon as Rhea starts talking. Okay. Hector says the way Finn is walking, you can definitely see he went through a war with Edge. Over saying, did the impossible. Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, and to the Sasha Banks. Oh, wrong person. John said, draft Alexa to SmackDown feud with Rhea. I got my eye on Bayley. Al says, what? Everyone being eligible, that means... Sean, I've answered this question like 5 times already. He says everyone is eligible. That means everyone. Dominik at this point is just pushing through. He can barely hear himself. Stuart saying nuclear heat. Sai saying there are veterans who would kill for this heat. You can see how proud all of Judgment Day are right now. Yeah, Sai saying the exact same thing. Traffic says everyone backstage who watched Dom grow up have to be so happy for him. Horsey says Dominik is money. Mark saying Dom wins me over more and more every week. Horsey saying from a father ladder match to this, what a journey for Dom. Sai says Finn cannot hide how impressed he is with this. He's not laughing to be a cocky heel. He's as amazed as we are. Is Dominik more over than all of the Judgment Day combined? Rhea's the only one who even comes close. Justin says Dom is one of the top heels in the business. Peter Engelfield saying Dominik is certainly something. Julius says, took my daughter to her first Raw last year and Dom was really nice. Signed an autograph for her during a commercial break. She was so excited. He's genuinely, and I hear this from so many people, Dominik is thrilled to be in the position that he's in. Absolutely thrilled. James saying Dom is so far over. Noah says, is that a possibility? This could be a good match. Bray Wyatt, I don't know, Noah. That match doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Sai says, good to see some of the Discord folk in here. And the guys in the Discord. Do you want me to link it in here, Tom? By all means, Sai, go ahead. Drop a link to the Discord. And let people know how we operate there. So be sure to remind people to check out the Good Faith Agreement when you do. But I'd appreciate that. Mark says, Dom is the Rock in the Nation of Domination. Vegeta saying Dom is the greatest heel in wrestling. And Eric just saying Dom is such an amazing heel. Megan says, how proud must Ray be of Dom right now? Seriously, the heel turn was a massive risk, but he's made it work. Ophir says, does everyone mean everyone? Meaning Tom Colohue can be drafted to Raw. I'm not a WWE employee, so no. Hector says, Dom lost to Ray and is still red hot as ever. What loss? Yeah, wins and losses really don't matter anymore. We're getting a recap from Raw of Bad Bunny taking a firm beating. Megan says, reminds me of Elias and Owens getting booed for nearly 10 minutes a few years ago. That was a hell of a moment. Moxie saying these boos are like Roman in 2018. The recap, the entire point of the recap was to really further that. This is their year. This is very much their year. Stuart says, I wonder how hyped Conan is for Dominik. Hyped. And James says, let the Judgment become like the Shield. It can happen the way it's going right now. They're going to be, with the collapse of the Bloodline, the top faction on SmackDown. Damian Priest, who's probably had the least attention of Judgment Day for the past year or so, now has an opportunity to really take on Bad Bunny. Rey Mysterio's music is hitting. This is quite a long promo given everything that's been happening. But now we're into the match. The LWO in play, including Zelina with a new mask. It is Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio versus Damian Priest and Dominik Mysterio. I'm down for that. You know it's going to be fun. We also have 43 viewers. I haven't asked for this for a little while. And only 30 likes. If you're able to, please remember to hit like when you join the chat. It really does help the growth of the channel. And I really do appreciate it. It is a great way of ensuring that what we do here is seen by more people. Something as simple as hitting like, hitting that thumbs up, really does mean that this channel goes further, as you will have seen during WrestleMania, during this show, during Spoiler Warning earlier today, where we got more than 100 likes and almost 2,000 views within 1 hour. We're now up to 854 views, which is tremendous for a watch party, and I absolutely love so many people who are constantly here, constantly chatting and constantly a big help. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for being here to help me grow, to keep me company, and to make sure that even if this SmackDown sucked, I would still have fun. Thank you. Hector says, Damian Priest out there looking like Ministry of Darkness Taker. Megan says, oh no, Damian Priest is getting time to shine. Oh no, poor us. Ofa says, no big returns or moments yet, but still so far superior to Raw. Sean says, I think being paired with Ray can really help Legado del Fantasma. Moxie goes a little further, saying this SmackDown is incredible. Justin Check, highly recommending the Discord. Thank you, Justin. Dylan says, is Bad Bunny and Ray versus Dom and Damian Priest at Backlash or no? That seems to be where they're headed, yes. Vegeta says, Roman and MJF wish they could get this amount of heat. Roman does get this amount of heat, but only when he does something against Sami Zayn. Alyssa, you're asking the same question 15 times. Gotta move on. Gotta move on. Stuart says, just thought, never mind. Conan, could you imagine Eddie Guerrero reacting to that? I don't really know what you're saying there, Stuart, to be honest. Mark has rated Dominik's promo a 10 out of 10. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of heat. Venom says he said a few weeks for the draft but didn't give a date. That's because he has not confirmed a date as of yet. James says this might be a dumb question, but do you think Mania could be held out of America ever? Nope. I get that question a lot, and I still maintain it would not be in WWE's interests to take WrestleMania abroad. Venom says they say everyone is available, but I bet they barely include NXT. Quite possibly. It's up to them. Everything is on the table. Horsey says I don't know why, but I always think partners in rival companies must be so weird at times. Just made me think when Zelina came out. And Justin says, can confirm watch along made Raw after Mania infinitely better. I agree. I would have given up on it a long time before I did. I would not have made it to the end at all if not for the support of everyone here helping by being equally bummed out. Moxie says, WWE please book Solo versus... Ooh, Solo versus Priest. I like that. I like what you're doing there. I'm enjoying what you're laying out there, Moxie. And Vegeta says, I've been thinking that about Priest looking like Ministry Taker. It's the spikes, isn't it? And the shiny black. It's not just black. It's shiny. Shiny. So, 2/3 of SmackDown has gone. We've seen a few good matches, some really enjoyable ones. The announcement from Triple H, I quite enjoyed. In fact, I very much enjoyed it. I'm very happy to know the draft is coming, especially when you consider my predictions are already live. And in fact, what I'll do now is I think I should probably promote. I should probably promote it. So let's do that. So I'm going to pop to my YouTube channel. I'm going to grab a link to my video, my predictions, and let's get it on Twitter, and let's get it out there. Let's see what we can do with this. What can we do with this? Okay, predictions, 847 views so far, and that's before the predictions have actually come, before the draft has been announced. So let's get that. Stick it in. Oh, no, we do hashtags. No, we don't do hashtags. Triple H has just formally announced an incoming WWE draft to the WWE Universe. Curiously, my draft predictions went live 8 days ago. Check them. Oh, no, spell that wrong. That's not how you spell check. Check them out below. Hashtag Triple H, hashtag WWE Draft, hashtag WWE, hashtag SmackDown. Let's get that out there. And now, if you don't mind, I'm just going to pop that into the chat for anyone who does want to watch it. And also, Sai, could you do me a favour and could you post this tweet into the Discord as well, please? I don't have the Discord open to try and make sure we don't have any technical issues. So, Sai, if you wouldn't mind posting that in the Discord as well. Thank you. Hector says, in your opinion, Tom, do you think we will get to a point where one of the 4 major PLEs will be in a different country? And that's a logical next step with Backlash, Clash and Money in the Bank as doing test runs. I think it's possible, but it depends which one. Survivor Series for me would be the obvious one. Money in the Bank is there, but it's certainly a litmus test. Megan says, since we could get anyone in the draft, give me Dragunov versus Gable. Oh, Dragunov versus Gable. Cheers, Si. Venom says, do you think Big E will come back on Raw and get the US title? We cannot confirm anything at this point. I've been reporting ahead of time as regards Big E and giving as much information as I can, but at the moment that's all I have. Also, you suggest Solo versus Gunter versus Brock as a banger. And Andy Barr says maybe they're holding call-up till the draft to make it special. As I've said, several people have been told, be prepared for call-ups because they're coming. Venom says Jordan Devlin would be a good call-up. I don't believe that's the name he has now, though. Boomy78 says it should be interesting to see how Dominik matures. I agree. I think they've got someone in Dominik that could be top level by the end of the year for the next 20-25 years. I think they have a real top level performer right there. Alyssa doesn't like Austin Theory. Okay. Noah says I'd like to see Brock and Roman, are they tag teaming the future versus the Usos? Nope. Stuart says, going to guess at after Backlash for the draft would make sense. I agree with that. After all, we can then potentially have a rematch between Bianca versus Asuka if they want the championship to change hands. Thank you, Horsey, for retweeting. I appreciate that. Every like, every retweet essentially guarantees more people are going to see that video. And of course, as previously stated, that's how this channel grows. We have gained a few subscribers already in this particular show. We did briefly reach a quite high number. We dropped slightly because ultimately we gained some trolls and we needed to get rid of them. But we are currently at 2,348 subscribers. We started the day at 2,309. So if you're able to, if you've not yet done so, please hit subscribe. We only need 2 more to reach 2,350. Venom says, is Fastlane gone for good? Not for good, it's in the reserve, but it won't be used for a while. Dylan says, so far SmackDown this week is better than Raw. I wholeheartedly agree. And Mark's saying they're calling the Legado the LWO now. They are. I believe someone did bring that up. Was it a Worked Wrestling thing? We might have to just give Worked Wrestling credit for getting this one right. Sai says, laughing at the clown who reported earlier the draft hadn't happened yet but would happen after Mania, now taking credit. Yes, that clown. Okay, always a good thing. Bless him. Leon saying would love to see Pretty Deadly call up. They're a great tag team. I agree. Noah says maybe Brock Lesnar can become a tag team champion. You're obsessed with this idea, aren't you, Noah? He's not going to be a tag team. It's not going to happen. Alyssa says, who do we think wins Money in the Bank and King and Queen of the Ring? So what do people think? Let's start with Money in the Bank. Who do people think are winning Money in the Bank? Because this is the fact that we're following up Money in the Bank with a King and Queen of the Ring means that essentially Triple H is getting to crown 4 people as the future of the company. After WrestleMania, when he crowned some people as the future of the company, like Rhea Ripley. Joey says, do you think Triple H will make the draft decisions or will it be Vince who decides the call-ups? Both. It'll be both. And Joey thinks LA Knight is winning. Moxie suggests Priest versus Samoa Joe. I like that as a concept as well. I love Chad Gable versus Samoa Joe. Sai says, for Money in the Bank, he wants Sami, but fears it will be LA Knight. You fear it will be LA Knight. Interesting. I'd imagine you've just made a lot of enemies. Leon says, for Money in the Bank, LA Knight and Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel's a good shout. I think she's definitely up there. Venom says, depends who the champion is, I guess, which is fair. Vegeta is suggesting Cody. Mark wants LA Knight. Ross and Justin both also saying LA Knight. And as regards King and Queen of the Ring, Leon believes Chad Gable and Liv Morgan. Chad Gable's a real good shout. Dylan thinks Cody will win the briefcase just to cash in on Roman. And Boomy says, for Money in the Bank, Cody, Damian Priest or LA Knight. Vegeta suggests Gunter as King and Raquel as Queen. Justin saying, think King of the Ring gets a USA title shot. Noah suggests Sheamus could become the new Intercontinental Champion. Okay, he's not going to, but okay. Andy says Roxanne Perez for Money in the Bank and LA Knight for the men's. Joey thinks Cody could win King of the Ring. And Venom is just saying someone who could have a successful cash-in. For the top belt, that kind of has to be Cody. Ross also has Roxanne Perez for the women, which I'd be very, very happy about. Megan says, I would give the women's Money in the Bank to Io Sky and the men's to LA Knight. Moxie is saying Cody wins both, then faces Roman. Okay, a bit extreme. I probably wouldn't cheer that guy. Sean has LA Knight for the men's and Dakota Kai for the women's. Interesting. Hector has Finn for the men's Money in the Bank and Roxanne for the women's. And then for the King and Queen, Bron Breakker and Shayna Baszler. Ooh. Moxie says, imagine King solo. That would be funny as hell. Not a bad show. I'd love him to have the briefcase, to be fair. And Megan says, I totally agree with Liv for Queen of the Ring. But imagine if Dom wins King of the... Oh, Dom as the King of the Ring would be great. Sean suggests Ricochet for King and Alexa Bliss for Queen. We haven't seen much of Alexa recently, but she is in need of a new refresh. Rey Mysterio has just tagged in and he's going absolutely mental, beating the hell out of Dominik. Dominik's offense is so crisp, particularly when he's working Rey. It's mostly practice and experience, but still, lovely to see. Mark says, I think by Money in the Bank the belts will be split. And Joey says, I hope we get Pete Dunne versus Gunter at Money in the Bank since it's in the UK. Vegeta has no idea for the women's Money in the Bank. Horsey says, I'm going for Liv for Queen and Priest as King and Cody for Money in the Bank. Venom suggests Bron Breakker as a Money in the Bank winner. C-Mac is saying LA Knight and Asuka. Vegeta doesn't believe Bron is leaving NXT. Do you mean forever, mate? Because that's a while. Dylan thinks Roman should win King of the Ring. Andy Barr going with Dominik as well. Ross says, I did have Jey White for Money in the Bank, but unfortunately he went to AEW. Hope he does well there. Me too, mate. Me too. And Hogan said, I didn't consider Dom, but now I'm all in on him winning it. It's amazing how you hear an idea and suddenly your entire life was building to that moment. Horsey says, King Solo. I like it, as does Roman then acknowledge Solo. Way to break them up, maybe. Mark suggests Piper Niven for Queen and Pete Dunne for King. So, lots of options there, I feel. Lots of good options as well. Moxie says, I'm changing. Jay wins King of the Ring. Roman starts to get jealous because everyone will be saying King Jay. Sean is making his first draft prediction of Seth to SmackDown. Zelina Vega has just gone in on the attack on Rhea Ripley. That's not going to end well. I'd imagine that might be our Backlash match. Rhea Ripley versus Zelina Vega. Hector says, I feel like Eddie would be smiling if he could say Rey and Dom killing it in the ring together. Sean says, Chad had a chance to win King of the Ring, but not long ago he lost to Corbin. It was a very, very fun selection of matches there. Rhea is just charging down Zelina Vega, which prevents an opportunity. There's plenty of people around the ring in this one. Dominik isolated. Rey going for the 619. Damian Priest, though, has the play. Has Santos Escobar. Goes for the finish. And that will be that. Damian Priest picks up the win. Santos Escobar taking the pin. Santos Escobar's job essentially is to be pinned. And Rey attacks Damian after the match. Bad sportsmanship. Very bad sportsmanship. So it says Triple H didn't give a date for the draft other than in a few weeks. Next big NXT show is May 28th if that has anything to do with anything. Damian Priest playing a bit of a wild card role here. As we're heading into the final half hour, Sami Zayn is walking backstage looking for Jey Uso. She is, Hogan, you're absolutely right. We go to commercial break with Sami Zayn looking for Jey. Their match is the main event tonight, and imagine it's next up. Unless we get LA Knight versus Xavier Woods, as they teased earlier. We're getting a Raw recap, guys. Oh no, we're getting a Raw commercial. What am I saying? On Raw this week, Matt Riddle versus The Miz. And in a tag team championship match, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Becky Lynch and Lita. If Trish is going to turn, here's an opportunity to do so. Noah says Rey and Bad Bunny versus Dominik and Damian is a good match. For a good match. It will be a good match. I agree with you on that one. They put together something quite good there. Something I'm pretty happy about, to be honest. Thank you, Megan, for the quote tweet of my draft predictions. I'm going to go ahead and retweet that. If anyone else would like to quote tweet that tweet, I will retweet them as well. So please do consider it. Venom says LA Knight needs to start winning and stop being treated as a clown. To be fair, he has lost a lot of matches recently. Sai says this 2K23 does look good. I'm just holding out for the traditional 50% price drop after a few weeks. They just started up, down, down, the GM mode that they do. And that is usually how I determine whether or not I'll like a game. I watch someone else play it. I'm excited. I'm very excited. But I do feel I have more fun watching them play it than I would have actually playing it myself. I don't know. Hopefully, I'll be able to find a channel soon that hosts a draft style, well, hosts a GM mode version themselves. People I know and can get behind. I swear I heard someone who is planning to do that sometime soon. Some local establishment that are planning something of that style. But I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. Sean says, do you think Matt Riddle beats The Miz? Yeah, easily. Also says, I hope the women's tag team title match main events Raw. I hope so, but I don't see it. Moxley would like Solo versus John Moxley. And Hector says, if you would have told me Santos Escobar would be a perpetual loser on the main roster, I'd ask if he'd been buried, but he's been paired with Rey Mysterio, which is far from buried. Indeed. This is one of those things where you have to really recognise that being a loser does not necessarily mean you're being buried when you're paired with the right people. A background push can go a long way. Dominik Mysterio lost at WrestleMania. Didn't really seem to hurt his push. He lost there as well. Oh no, he won that. He won that. Moxley says, can you just imagine the destruction between Solo versus Bobby? And Megan says, I know it won't happen, but I'd love Woods and Breeze hosting the draft. Me too. That's a really good shout, Megan. I'd love that. That'd be fantastic. Venom says, it'd be good if Trish turns, but do it when Ronda and Shayna face Becky and Lita. I agree. Noah, that may be a while off, mate. Maybe a while off. Depends if you see my video or not. Joey says, I think Grayson Waller could get called up. Remember seeing before the Triple H was high on him. He really is. He really is. Dylan says, do you think Sami is the reason Jey betrays Roman? Yes and no. Ultimately, I think Roman is the reason Jey betrays Roman, but Sami will give him the strength to do it. I think that's it. He'll give him the strength to do it. Horsey says, I'm going now, mate. We'll lurk for the last 30. Thanks for all the hard work and see you Monday. Have a great bank holiday or Easter to chat. Thank you very much, Horsey. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much for being a part of the show. Really always appreciate it that you drop in and check out the show that we're doing. So thank you very much, mate. And best of luck to you with your channel. I still see you doing great things on there. Happy Easter to you. Vegeta says, I'd beat The Miz, which, based on what we've been told about The Miz recently, yeah, I think we'd all beat The Miz. Dominik says, does Vince like the LWO? I don't know. Mark says, could we be seeing GMs on each show, or is that something WWE won't do anymore? I don't know. Venom says, why do I think they turned why do I think they turned Bron Breakker heel? To give him some different match options. There was talk of a big return for Shinsuke, not necessarily the top level, but certainly involved again. And we're getting a vignette of Shinsuke Nakamura. For me, this suggests that we may be getting Shinsuke versus Gunter some point soon. After all, the Intercontinental Championship that Gunter currently carries was made for Shinsuke Nakamura. Congratulations, Eric. You'll have to let us know when said twins are born. Traffic says, give us Shin versus Cody Triple H. I doubt we're going to get that, because that would mean a big loss for Shinsuke. But next week, Shinsuke Nakamura returns. I'm not sure how he's going to be used, but you wanted a big return. There he is. Maybe we'll get Shinsuke versus AJ. Maybe we'll get Shinsuke versus Ricochet. I could get behind that. The main event is up next with 25 minutes left to go. Commentary team just waiting for something to happen. There we go, we've gone backstage. Jey Uso right outside of Gorilla. Sami Zayn wants to talk to him. Venom wants Styles versus Volta. Sean says, I will guess the first draft picks, Roman and Becky. Probably true. And Hector says, someone asked earlier who beats Gunter, and I really hope it's Solo. Solo versus Gunter will be a banger, regardless. Sean says, if Shinsuke comes back without the Rising Sun, I'll be furious. He will have the Rising Sun. And Moxie says, Shinsuke versus Roman was teed 2 times during this Roman run. It was. I still don't see it happening. Noah says, is it possible when Roman loses? Is it possible he will retire? Yeah, it's possible. Doesn't mean it's going to. Very, very unlikely, but it's possible. Sami Zayn has moved from soft power to hard power here. He's just trying to rescue Jey here. Trying to give him the confidence and the belief. I think Solo may have attacked Kevin Owens here. That is exactly what has happened. No one fought to take it off Kevin Owens' leg until Sami Zayn was there to do so. Sami, you took your eye off your partner. You let him down. You let him down. Brad says, with them saying everyone is available for the draft, you see all brands involved? Yes. Eric wants Shinsuke versus Dragon Lee. Dylan wants Shinsuke versus Roman. Vegeta wants Shinsuke versus Grayson Waller. Eric's first draft picks are Roman and Bianca. Good shouts. Noah says, Roman is one of my favourite wrestlers, but Cody should have won. Jey Uso is on his way down. It looks like we may get a 20-minute main event here. This has been a good SmackDown. I said during Raw, SmackDown's going to be very telling as to the level of interference that we should expect from Vince McMahon. This has been a good show. There's nothing wrong with this show. I've enjoyed it. Between this and Raw, night and day. Venom says, am I the only one who remembers the magic Roman and AJ Styles created in 2016? Give me Roman and AJ Styles again, please, please. You are not the only one. I loved it. I do want a repeat of it. But unfortunately, it's not something we've seen as of yet. So we have 20 minutes left. That means 2 commercial breaks. One, I'd imagine, right now before Sami Zayn makes his entrance. And then one in the middle of the match as well. And then we'll be wrapping up what's been a very good SmackDown so far. So I said, Shinsuke is my boy. Oh no, my boy. He's had 2 or 3 of the best ring entrances I've ever seen and some of the best matches. Shinsuke versus Samoa Joe is what turned me on to the majesty of Shinsuke Nakamura. It was an amazing match. The first one I'm talking about in particular here. And I loved every second of it. Boomy says Jey Uso could be good Money in the Bank or King. Absolutely he could. And Mark says maybe during the week Triple H and Vince have sorted their stuff out and are now working as a team. It might just be that the distance is a good thing. It might be that Vince McMahon has recognised that Raw was crap. And he's decided to walk away. There's a lot of different possibilities to it. But what I will say is that this is a lot better. And Vince McMahon did make changes. Small changes, but changes nonetheless. Vegeta says, I hope AJ is back soon. Joey suggests Shinsuke versus Sami at NXT TakeOver was an amazing match. It really was. And Venom says, it's a fresh opponent and someone who Reigns hasn't beaten in this reign. Why won't they do it? Because Cody is the plan. Because they're very focused on Cody. Unless we end up with Shinsuke versus Roman in Saudi Arabia. Possibility. Sean says Shinsuke versus The Miz got teased when Shinsuke made his main roster debut and we never got that. I'm okay with that. Everyone's already beaten The Miz. We don't need Shinsuke to do it too. We don't need it. Hogan says the entire arc was pretty great. I still go back and watch that compilation of Joe yelling Regal every now and then. Dylan is asking for the worst pay-per-view. I don't really work that way, Dylan. I'm not big on saying this was terrible, this was bad, here's my worst wrestler and so on. I don't really work that way. There are some historical ones that weren't very good, but I'm not really built that way. Joey says maybe Endeavour wanted to see a Triple H booked show compared to Vince. Endeavour have had no say in this whatsoever. No say whatsoever. They have put Vince McMahon in charge and told Vince McMahon, do whatever you think is right. And he is doing. That's all this is. Endeavour have had no input whatsoever. They don't care. As long as they are making money, they do not care what happens. They put Vince in charge. It's entirely up to Vince to do it. Moxie wants Solo versus Seth Rollins, which is okay, I guess. Noah, of course it's possible. The year's a long time and anyone can betray anyone in that time. Venom says, I don't want AJ Styles to beat Roman, I just want that match before Cody eventually vins, maybe a Backlash. And Vegeta suggests that Nicholas, the 10-year-old, would beat The Miz. He's not 10 anymore, mate. He's actually a bit of a giant. He may start wrestling himself. It'd be interesting to see. But betrayal, of course, is part of the fabric of Kevin Owens. And in many ways, always will be. This is our penultimate commercial break. Solo Sikoa is still in play. Venom says there is a Saudi show coming up. King and Queen of the Ring will be in Saudi Arabia, to my knowledge. Mark wants a Survivor Series when it was NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown again, or a War Games version. I'd like it, but I think because Triple H doesn't have time to directly manage NXT, the interest is a bit lower. Triple H is starting to realise why NXT weren't always that involved in it. Hogan says, if he could get back by Money in the Bank, AJ versus Roman in London would be a pretty sweet little main event. I agree. They are once again hyping Monday Night Raw. Noah, you're asking a lot of things where the answer is maybe. Unfortunately, there's no real way I can answer that. There's no real way I can answer it. If they are booked for that to happen, then it'll happen. That's all I can really say. King of the Ring is in Saudi, thank you. Venom, I believe that's the July pay-per-view. I believe it's a July pay-per-view. Better than that, mate. Google it. You'll get the answer you're looking for much better. Much faster. Usos. Hector says Shinsuke versus Finn needs to happen, especially if Judgment Day moves to SmackDown. We can't say for certain that Shinsuke is actually going to be on SmackDown, is the thing. I mean, it's been announced, but in a couple of weeks there's a draft going on. Sami Zayn is backstage in Gorilla. Kayla Braxton asking for an update on Kevin Owens, who got attacked 5 minutes ago. What update can there possibly be? Sami Zayn now isolated. We're getting a bit more of an intense Sami Zayn. I don't see a heel turn or anything with Sami. I just think we get a much more intense Sami Zayn. Let's go. Mark says, when do you think we'll see Pat back full time? I don't think we will. Venom says, how many goddamn times have we got to see this advert for Raw? Venom says, where does Jimmy fit into this breakup? The story is Jey and Roman. So I'm interested to see how Jimmy does fit in, to be honest. I don't know if he does. Peter gives his update. Yes, Kayla, his leg still hurts. Venom says, why isn't Sami taking his titles? And then Sami strips off and shows off his titles with a bit of a pelvic thrust. If you can pelvic thrust your titles, why wouldn't you? He's actually wearing both belts as well, which shouldn't look that good, but it does. Okay, so we've cut down our main event already to 15 minutes with a, 3 or 4 minute commercial break in the middle. It's about 10 minutes once you factor out that it doesn't actually run to the end of the show. They got about a 10-minute match. Ross says, do you think WWE would have been surprised by AEW's Wembley announcement? I was surprised when Money in the Bank wasn't a stadium show. I don't think they'll be too surprised. I certainly think they could have gone bigger. AEW have been brave, and it may not pay off long term, but I think it will pay off short term. I think they're going to sell a lot of tickets. And I think even if they don't, they can still call it a triumph because they're the underdog here. So that'll work for them. And Venom says that's one way to carry the belts. Indeed, it is. Jey Uso has returned to the main event. Jey versus Sami. This is what the story's been since the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns might have been involved, but it was never really about him. Venom says the Usos carry them around like unwanted luggage. Just put one around your waist and the other over your shoulder. Do you remember Roman Reigns as the United States champion? Held it backwards like a strap. It was horrible. I remember Mick Foley trying to fix it and be like, no, you don't do this. Hector says Sami's scar theme will never get old. Never. Sami Zayn's still trying to talk to Jey. It's a little disappointing that he went around backstage to talk to Jey when he could have literally just come out to his match, his wrestling match, and talk to Jey. As we enter our final 15 minutes, I will go through my spiel the final time. If you've not yet done so, please remember to hit like. Every thumbs up can make a massive difference to the growth of this channel, and my word, have we grown today, so a massive thank you to all of you. Also, if you're able to, jump in, have a chat, have a comment. If you'd like to lurk, you're also welcome to, but by all means jump in and say hi. If you have not yet done so, please consider subscribing. We currently have 2,348 subscribers, just two away from hitting 2,350 after already today gaining 39 subscribers. Tom Colohue is a very, very happy boy today, and I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for that. If you would want to support in additional ways, you can join the Discord and help us out there with our research, our conversation, and you can also become a channel member. The channel supporter option is just the $1 a month, $1 a month, sorry, meaning $12 a year. There is also a channel member option, which is $5 a month or $60 a year. You get access to the same content, it's just which one you personally would like to support at what level. And what you get is behind the scenes stuff, for example, how I knew what information and when I knew what information, as well as a few little extra tidbits, for example, a lot on the WWE sale when I had some information to share on there, and there will be more behind the scenes stuff coming. Hogan says Jey Uso wearing shorts today. I wonder why that is. Noah says I think the bloodline will cost Cody's match against Brock. I don't personally. Hogan says I don't think he's worn shorts since turning heel in 2016. Venom says it'd be funny if they were backstage and Solo just spiked Roman out of nowhere. Mark just shouts, Solo is here. And Bailey says, is 39 the all-time record on new subscribers? It is not, Bailey. The all-time record is the day that I reported that Bray Wyatt had signed a new deal with the WWE back in September. I gained 50 subscribers in one hour show that day. That is the most subscribers I've ever done in one day. I believe 39, though, is second to that, which is still a great place to be and shows the momentum that we're gaining here with the amount of subscribers that we've gained. If I look at that particular number, it means that I have gained 112 in the last 7 days. It's pretty good, that. I'm pretty happy. My average is about 4 per day. My average, if you factor in the last 7 days, is about 12. So I'm a happy boy. Blue says, hadn't the story they've been telling with the Usos, the brothers will be there no matter what. So push comes to shove, Jimmy will choose Jey. I believe that Jimmy will choose Jey. However, Solo Sikoa is the exception to that. He won't choose Jimmy or Jey. Vegeta says they wouldn't interfere with Brock, and I don't believe so either. Eric says, Tom, were we teasing Zelina versus Rhea for Backlash? I do believe we were. Gomar says, if you could book Backlash, how would you book it? Based on current storylines, I think I book it pretty much exactly as it's being booked. There is a suggestion of Rhea versus Zelina, which I will absolutely take. I would love it if we get Drew McIntyre versus Gunter. I think Cody versus Brock makes the most sense given where the storyline is. Bad Bunny and Rey Mysterio versus Damian Priest and Dominik Mysterio also makes perfect sense. We then need ourselves some more Raw matches. I'd have another match between Bianca versus Asuka, and honestly, I'd probably leave it there. I think that'd be a great show. Venom says a stipulation in NXT where if Von Wagner loses, Mr. Stone leaves him. Been waiting for Wagner to attack him, but he's been on a losing streak. Who do you think, Tom? Dragunov or Wagner? Dragunov, personally. And Vegeta says Wade should yell it's Solo every time, like Shivani yells it's Sting. Hector says, speaking of cool ways to hold a belt, it'll always be Pete Dunne with a UK title in his mouth. May not be sanitary, but cool nonetheless. I would like to see Pete Dunne versus Austin Theory, because I'd just like to see Pete Dunne with a championship once again. We are back. We have 10 minutes left with Solo at ringside. We've already reached 1,357 views, which is a magnificent number. We continue to do extremely well. I'm just very happy today. I am very happy today. It's been a good time, and I get a long weekend. We've come back to a top rope superplex from Sami on to Jey. Great place to be. I'm just having a really good time recently, and it's you guys making that happen. I just want to say again a massive thank you. Bailey says, hoping we will see the Gunter vs Dragunov rematch someday. I think so, yes. I'd love it if he's the one to take the Intercontinental title, get some symmetry. I'd love it. And Mark says, Trent Seven signed to a long deal with AEW. Not a long deal, no, I don't believe so. Solo is at ringside, ready to beat down Sami if Jey can't. Honestly, I do have Sami winning here, and then Solo beating both men down by the end of it. Venom says, do you think the Brutes are breaking up? Eventually, yes, but not soon. Not just yet. Crowd seem to be into the match as well, always a good sign. Quite a bit of top rope offense. A lot of high risk stuff. Flying nothing. Flying nothing into a super kick. Sami should know better. Creative cover by Jey. I've got to give Jey credit for that. Creative cover. Hector says, I think KO comes back out to ringside limping to help Sami. Would not be the first time KO's done that. I remember I believe it was 2016 at the Royal Rumble. He had a no DQ Intercontinental Championship match with Dean Ambrose and then limped down to the Royal Rumble proper to get eliminated by Sami Zayn after eliminating AJ Styles. Mark says, would love to have Trent, Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne back together. My favourites. Not for me. Not for me, thanks. Don't want it. Noah says, I think we're close to the end of the bloodline. Possibly. Yeah, I think it's a possibility that we're close to something, yes. Traffic says, I think Solo beats Jey down as well, but it's not a kicked out of bloodline beatdown, more like a straight and up beatdown. I'd imagine it'll be one spike. Just one spike. Solo's probably going to get involved now as well. Oh, no. Yeah, that's how I do it personally. A sustained dual beatdown on Sami, followed by one Samoan spike, and then just walk away. We're reaching a good crescendo on this match so far. Really strong pace. These two know each other very well by now, and we're getting quality top to bottom. No, Dylan, I've not heard a single Fire Vince chant, but we don't know whether or not the WWE might be sweetening the audio. Gomar says, Roman loses until the bloodline is completely broken. He has no one to help him, like Cody said. He had him if it wasn't for Solo, and predicting it'll end at SummerSlam. And Joey's excited for NXT Europe. Me too. Me too. And there's quite a lot of people who would be moving to NXT Europe from the main roster or from NXT. Joey, there's no reason it would get cancelled by the buyout. No reason whatsoever. I mean, it could be on the chopping block for budget cuts, but the wrestlers for an NXT Europe would be getting paid so little. The wrestlers for NXT were getting paid less than I am from my day job. So, like, it's bad. It's bad. Venom says, Solo should care more about his brother than just beat him down if Roman says. That's the story of Solo. The story of Solo is he's loyal to Roman, not anyone else. Baylor says, it's amazing how many future Hall of Famers were on last week's card over 2 nights. And Mark says, is there any date or when NXT EU will start? Nope. Nothing has been made official as of yet. There we go. Solo taking the opportunity as Samoan Spike. Jey going for the finish. A jumping super kick. And picks up the win. Solo Sikoa ensuring that Jey Uso picks up the win. Traffic says, never mind them. Yeah, same. John says, No Armed Dar just moved to NXT this week and brought the Heritage Cup with him. They're essentially giving him something to do while they wait for NXT EU to start. A lot of people have their contracts frozen right now. Solo is in the ring with both of them. Jay's music seems to be quietening down. Solo, you got the job done. Offering a hand to Jey. There's more to this to come, but typically with a Bloodline storyline we get little tiny increments. Little tiny bits of story. Solo now continuing the beating. Headbutts to Sami Zayn. Jey nervous in the corner. Jey not joining in here. Jey Uso seems to have no interest in actually getting involved. Sami grabbing onto Solo's shirt to sell this. That's quite good. Last time we saw Jey this conflicted, of course, was when he was at the Royal Rumble. Jey is stopping the beating. Will he take over? Gomar says, even if he doesn't face Roman in a match, do you think The Rock will have some sort of part in the Bloodline story? No. I think it's too late now. There is a Jey chant, recognising that the fans are there for him if he swaps sides. But no, as expected, he wanted to do it himself. He wanted to do it himself. We're getting chairs. This would be a good time for Kevin Owens to pop down. Hell, it'd be a good time for Cody Rhodes to pop up. Or Matt Riddle? Why Matt Riddle? What? Why Matt Riddle? So Riddle versus Solo seems to be part of the plan now. Not sold to that. James Kimball says, why Riddle? Traffic says, I'm sorry, I'm already sick of Riddle. So I saying they better not be diluting this angle. Mark saying Riddle isn't allowed to go after the title, which is why he is helping. Well, same is true of Brock. I'm not there, Matt Riddle. Venom saying Riddle coming to take his revenge. They are. Michael Cole saying he's a new dangerous enemy. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced on that one. But what I will say, regardless of me not really being entirely behind that finish, that was a very good SmackDown. How do we rate SmackDown? 1 to 10. What do we think of SmackDown? Because honestly, I really enjoyed that. I'm giving that an 8. The Triple H announcement was good. The heat that Dominik got. The matches were all pretty solid. The women didn't get enough time, but they were all pretty solid. I think the opening match was really high tempo. Ricochet versus Ivar very much impressed me. The main event was very high tempo, very high pace. We saw a continuation of what's going on with the Bloodline even without Roman. And honestly, I'm just happy with that overall. I don't see how Drew McIntyre fits into that show personally. Bailey says 8. Traffic will give it a 7 out of 10. Stuart giving it an 8 as well. Sai saying, okay, I'm out. Bit UFC this time tomorrow. Thanks all. 8 out of 10 from me. Thanks, Sai. See you in a bit, mate. Mark says, thanks for a great watch along. 8 out of 10 for the show. Venom gives it a 7. Peter says, compared to Raw, it was 10 out of 10. On its own, it was 7. Boomy saying it was an 8. James saying something was missing in that SmackDown. Megan has given it a 7.5. Hector says, Raw was a 3. SmackDown was an 8. And Moxie giving it a 9. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has watched one, both, even a second of our shows today. Now we are back to our normal schedule. So it will be spoiler warning on Mondays, spoiler warning on Fridays, and a SmackDown watch party. There will be videos in between, as well as our daily wrestling rumour shorts and shorts that are purely there to build up other videos as well, like we've had for the most recent ones. Now we have the draft, of course, coming up. Please be sure to check out the draft predictions. And in the meantime, Gomar is giving it a 10, Leon giving it an 8, Dylan giving it an 8 as well, Justin giving it a solid 8, which is slightly better than an 8. Megan says, hope everyone has a lovely weekend, and I do as well. Happy Easter to those who celebrate. If you do not celebrate, happy weekend, and I hope you have an absolutely great time. In the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue, you've been fantastic, and I will see you all very soon.